It started with Governor Markell when he honoured Harriet Tubman. I hadn't realised that the Underground Railroad came through Delaware, and I hadn't realised that Harriet Tubman had come through a couple of times. And it just made me, I was sitting there thinking of what to do when I got the award. I wanted to do something special. And I was trying to tie all the pieces together, and I was just sat there thinking. It took a lot of thinking. It took me a few months to work the whole thing out. And I just thought that she was a remarkable woman. She not only came out to freedom, but she went back a number of times and brought people out. And I started researching her, and I found her very inspirational. And a lot of my work revolves around women helping women. And I thought that because it was the centennial or the anniversary of the Civil War, and I'm from Africa, came over here, I'm working to help women in Africa. And I just thought there was some sort of tie-in, however vague it was. And I also felt that I had really understood, or I had a feeling for what went on with the slavery. Having grown up in South Africa, it was a difficult period. And I just thought I could portray it and show how it started in darkness and landed up with hope. I used burlap because I think it's a very ethnic fabric. It's used throughout the world, and it has been used for many years in very many different ways. And I just thought it would be appropriate for this. It's also softer than trying to hang on wood or something like that. And I could seal the paintings into the burlap or sew them onto the burlap, depending on which I used. I used different mediums with this. I started with a dark burlap, and then as the progression of the Underground Railroad went through, the burlap becomes lighter and lighter until the end it's a sort of oyster color, and that represents freedom.
When Anne introduced herself basically as an individual artist fellowship from the Delaware Division of the Arts, we came and we scoped out basically what gallery she might be able to do an installation within. And we found this gallery. And what was great about it was that it was a place within the museum where we introduced this really great collection of Hudson River Valley landscape painters of New York City, sort of the first major school of landscape painters in America. And we created a gallery there within the museum that not only highlights these paintings, but also sort of the furniture and silver of that time frame, period from about 1840 on up to about 1870. This also coincides with the period leading up to the American Civil War. So for discussion of the Underground Railroad, the discussion of American slavery, this seemed like a very appropriate space, and it created this really wonderful opportunity for contrast. These burlap panels sort of dominating the center of the room, creating a very deliberate path for the visitor, and in the periphery you see these very studio-created New York mid-19th century landscapes, these extremely articulate landscapes, and this Belter style furniture, this Rococo Revival high Victorian furniture. And it's really just sort of a marked contrast between living conditions between two different populations that were happening in the United States at the same time.
The hardest part was deciding what to portray. And then when I did portray it, like I said, painting people on a slave block, that was very difficult. And then I didn't want to make it, a ton of panels because there's so much you could have put in. I wanted to just do it short and sweet, if I can call it that, because I wanted it to keep people's attention, hopefully. I wanted people to go away and think about it. I didn't want just a pretty picture